Hello, and welcome to another episode of Monday Rewind. This one's opening up a little dark. I'm not going to be sharing any pictures or anything like that, but cartoonist kayfabe contributor, co-host, channel owner, if you will, Ed Piskor, also a comic book artist, more famously known for his work on X-Men, the Grand Design, I believe it's known as, has um, taken his own life as a result of Instagram DMs getting out that are with him and a young lady who he was being a little too adult with. And Ed decided that he did not want to deal with that, I guess, after some things went sideways as a result of that information coming out. And he has, as confirmed by his sister over on Facebook, he has taken his own life. So we're just sorry to open the show like that, but there's really no way to kind of like segue into that topic.
Yeah,
If you want to know more about Ed, feel free to Google him. As I said, I don't want to bring up pictures. I don't want to go through his note and things like that. It's not something that Monday Rewind's for, but it is happening right now.
yeah. I mean, that's a rough one. There's really not much you can say about a story like that. It's just that it's a sad situation all around, and it's a sad end. So it's about as much I can say about it.
And again, I mean, like I'm not trying to be, like dismissive of what this man was going through, but I want everybody to know that that he did not, to our knowledge, what's been revealed, he did not commit any sex crimes. What he had done is he'd been too verbal with this woman, this young woman, about what he thought of her, and that was very unfortunate for him to do as an adult. Okay, and again, I'm not trying to show sympathy for somebody who went and did this. I'm trying to show sympathy for somebody who took his life because he didn't see a way out of the mistakes that he had made that hadn't transcended into, atrocities. At least to our knowledge, right? Mr. Piskor had not gone and actually physically harmed anybody. He had just crossed a line that he needed to apologize for, but could set his life right. And apparently, he didn't find himself worthy of that path. So let's
Yeah, it's a rough one, man.
yeah, it's and Leslie, it's again, if you want to know more about Ed, you can go ahead and Google what his career was and some of this stuff. But Twitter is alive with conversation about this fellow, so beware. There's no graphic stuff going around or anything like that, but beware. The conversation will likely dominate for the next couple of days. It's a very grim situation to find yourself in, but as I retain about this, Ed could have transformed his life and actually educated other men in his situation. What happens to a lot of these artist types is that they end up becoming very isolated because of your talent, your skill. You're not going out and going to parties and meeting people, when you're painting and drawing and all this other stuff. It's not it's you don't get out much. And it's again, it's no fault of their own. But for Ed, he kind of exited society when he was a teenager because he fell in love with making art, and that's a very personal space to be in. And so, as he grew up and became an older man, his social skills remained at the teenage level. And unfortunately, that's, I believe, what led him to go talking to these girls, is because, when he left the world, this was the people that he could communicate with, and people on his age, in his own age group, he couldn't do it. And you can learn from that. You can apologize for being flirty with a teenage girl and making sexual comments to that. You can do that. As long as you don't commit a physical crime on someone, it's really just being creepy on the internet. You're not asking for pictures, you're not sending naked things of yourself. That's important. But this is really, Mr. Piskor had an option to turn things around, and he didn't feel he was worthy. And I know that the audience out there isn't suffering from this similar thing, but if you're feeling like there isn't a way out, please understand that there is. You can reach out for help. If not, like Jacob is available as a Baptist. You go to the church, you speak to people there about what you're going through. If you're the Baptist thing isn't right for you, there is the suicide hotline that's available to talk to. And if not, you can go to the hospital and they will have a crisis worker come and help you. There are options. There is a way out. Don't be like Mr. Piskor and see that there isn't a way forward. Especially in regards to this because he had made these comments. We have Timothy Lee Olson here from Twitter, and he says, "What is he talking about?" So this is Mr. Ed Piskor has taken his life as a result of screenshots from a conversation he had with a teenage girl coming out. Again, he didn't send nudes, he didn't request nudes, but he had flirtatious conversation, and the conversation turned sexual at some points. And as a result of this information getting out, Mr. Piskor's reputation was disrupted, and he did not see a way back from this. To our knowledge, he did not commit any physical crimes against these young women. So, um,
Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I'm learning a lot of these details now. Like as the news is
it
starting to
just
spread a little
broke,
bit. So yeah,
Yep,
it just broke. So it's like I don't want to say too much because I really don't know the people involved too well
right.
here. So I don't want to make like one harsh judgment one way or another. But like just at the end of the day, don't ever think to yourself that this is it and that this is essentially my only way out. Like I said, you have a network full of people who can help you and assist you if you're really and truly down. And if they're really and truly your friends, family, and people who care about you, they will be there if you tell them that you're at your absolute lowest point. So I'll
Right.
always know that there's an option outside of just taking yourself out.
Yeah. And as I said, there are resources in the community if you don't feel your family's safe to go to about that. As I said, we're not trying to make excuses for someone who committed horrible crimes. To our knowledge, Mr. Piskor only went and spoke with a teenage girl in a very flirtatious manner and sometimes sexual, of course, which again is wrong. That's not what I'm trying to stress here. What I'm trying to have sympathy for is a man who killed himself as a result of something like that surfacing and him not seeing a way back to redemption through it. And that's what the problem is. So,
Yeah, like I said, just
but
sometimes the drama's just not. It's not really worth it.
from a very dark and terrible thing to a moment of levity, if you will, right? So we've got the SJWs doing another self dunk again, the rare self burn. So here is IGN France scrambles to backpedal after writing off Stellar Blade protagonist Eve as a doll sexualized by someone who has never seen a woman. Isn't that fun? Yep.
Isn't it always hilarious when these people go all in on their ideological bent, only to realize that, oh no, I immediately just corrupted my entire business model. It's like, yeah, that's usually what you guys have done for the last several years. You guys don't haven't learned a single thing.
Hmm. Well, they couldn't be bothered to even do research on the people that they were, libeling with this, right?
Hmm.
So
Why
as
would
you
you?
go down, what's that?
It's like, yeah, why would you? Why would you do research before making bombastic statements?
Yeah, bigots unite. You bet. Yep. That's what's going on here, especially with this. What the situation with this is I find most hilarious is that um hold on now. So this is his wife,
Oh
right?
yeah.
This was his wife, yeah. Oh no, this is this the model or the wife? I forget. But his wife is involved with the character designs. She's an artist. She's a very beautiful woman, and they live in Japan. And so they were giving
So
what's that?
finish it up real quick before I give
Well, I was
my.
just saying, IGN came out here and said that the CEO behind this creation didn't know, has never seen a woman, like it says right here, a doll sexualized by someone who has never seen a woman, and then come to find out, well, look at that, it's based on, I believe this is his wife. I could be wrong. If not, it's very close to his wife. So
Now, did he know that this model was based off of his wife before he decided to try to be an ally for the community, or did
no,
this
no, no,
come
no,
out
no, no,
after?
no, no, the other way around. The creator of the game, his wife is the
Hmm.
beautiful woman. The
Yeah.
IGN commentator
Oh,
is the
oh,
jerk
that
that has
that
come out and said that the guy who has his beautiful wife that's involved with this is a
okay.
freako, is an incel. Yeah,
He's the guy who made the game. That's
yeah,
actually a lot funnier than I was thinking the other way around. So,
yeah.
oh, well, way to go, idiots! Way to absolutely go. So it's
But
like,
yeah,
But it's the same thing that we've been talking about for a while now. These people have like like an unrational like hatred of like verifiable female like assets, right? Like something that
Mhm.
makes you like, okay, this is clearly a woman. In any context of like television and movies and video games, and it's like on the one hand they're always at this war with like the male gaze because it's like, oh no, attractive woman, there's some man out there who thinks this is attractive, he's probably getting off to us, and they just get like
Right.
irrationally angry to the point where they start making like all these like I said, these dumb statements talking about anyone who likes this body type is like an incel, and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, this person was based off of the creator's wife, and he's the one who put her in the game. So actually, this body type actually does exist. I know, shockingly enough.
Well, apparently, like I said, like he said down below, this character here is based off of the body scans of this woman. I believe that's his wife. I could be wrong,
Yeah.
but that's what this is going on. Is that it's not again like this is a real person. This is a real person. This is not some Bayonetta butt that had like 37,000 polygons in it. You know, so what you're really looking at is you're looking at people who are jealous, right? This is
Yep.
what you're doing is you're looking at people who are jealous that they can't feel this way without feeling guilt. They can't contemplate a beautiful woman being beautiful without feeling guilt that there might be a person who is not this beautiful out in the world that may feel either judged or left out if that person passing judgment says so, you know? That this is a beautiful woman and thus you have passed judgment on your preference. And that's really what you're looking at. This French person came out trying to virtue signal, but at the core of this is just their inability to just say, "I like big boobies. I like jiggly butt."
Mm-hmm.
That's all they. That's it.
Yeah,
It's not a
I like
crime.
women. I like women. I hate to tell you this, but in 2024, there are men out there that actually like women. This might be a
Believe it or
shocking
not.
revelation
Yeah,
to some of you people here, but in 2024, there are men out there who actually like women with nice butts and nice boobs.
we're antiques, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you might be
We
few and
may
far
be
between.
dinosaurs
Yeah,
at this point,
dinosaurs. Yes,
but
that's
yeah,
what we are these days. Yes.
yeah, we're still out there.
But this is literally what these SJWs are resorting to now is that they see anything being successful involving a female character that is aesthetically and conventionally attractive. Let's be honest, like the old Sports Illustrated cover model attractive, you know?
Yeah.
And instead now they go out and they have to rage against this because they're guilt. They're guilty that they can't like this and just say, "I like these fictional boobies, this fictional butt." The end. They can't leave
Yeah.
it there.
Yeah, so this is what draws the ire of like IGN reviewers and people who are covering video games. But correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't last year like the entire gaming sphere marking out about a video game where you can have sex with a bear?
Yes, yep,
What
that's
was wasn't that a
Baldur's
thing?
Gate. Yep,
Mm-hmm.
yep.
And everyone was like
Gate indeed.
drooling over themselves, excited about that game because it was so progressive to portray bestiality in video games. They absolutely loved it. But if, like I said, if an attractive woman with an attractive figure is anywhere in a video game, these people get rowling mad.
Yeah. Well, this character is, meant to the jiggle physics are like cranked the RTX jiggle physics are cranked up on this character, you know? I'm sorry, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just trying to get a yeah, of course. I like how these people make gifts for ants. I'm really glad that people want to make their gifts like that big.
Yeah,
That's very
right.
helpful when they're like that big.
Well, it doesn't look
Thanks.
like that when you're searching it on Google Images. Then
Yeah.
you see it, and it's like a
Yep.
microcosm.
All right. So the horror of Reddit has it. So here you go. So
Yeah.
as you can see, this from the screenshots, you can obviously see she has a pleasing face, this sort of thing. But when you actually get to see the body of the character, you understand this is why the SJWs are mad. They cannot look at this character and simply appreciate that they simply excuse me appreciate it. That's what I mean. They can't appreciate this.
These people, let's be very, very clear here. These people just hate the female figure. And then that's what it comes down to. If a woman has, as I like to call it here because they're on YouTube, verifiable female assets, they cannot stand it. Now, we live in a culture, in a society where if a woman were to remove those assets off of her body, she will be celebrated by the exact same group of people.
Right.
But so this is then you're quite talking about them creating this whole world. It's like, oh, everything's an attack on women. This is quite literally an attack on women.
Right. And well, and again, I mean, what you're looking at on Stellar Blade, you got Leslie Tarkin here. She says, "Should I hide my boobs so men don't feel guilty when they look at me?" This, I know this is a joke. I know this is sarcasm, but when you get down to how like repetitive this message is, how beat into just about everything in the West that this message is, yeah. Yeah, that's what they're trying to tell young women around the world is hide yourself. You are disgusting if you look like this character. You are reprehensible. You are awful if you look like this character. You instead should look like the Navy Secretary of Medicine, a refrigerator with a wig on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our next video game, they should just model their character off of Abby Shapiro and then see how well everyone takes up after
Well,
that.
see, this is the thing is that I think you'll end up with like another uproar of that whole free Gaza thing, right?
Oh
Because
boy, yep.
you know, unless they mod her into like Call of Duty, and that's the next theater in Call of Duty.
Exactly. But these people, this just goes back all the way back to the lies that people have bought into several decades ago. Because remember, this whole thing started where we are right now, started several decades ago when these feminist women saw women on like bikini magazines and swimsuit magazines and on television looking small and fit, and they were saying, oh, those women are promoting an unhealthy body type, because what's going to happen is little girls are going to see that and they're going to get bulimia, they're going to be anorexic, and they're going
Right.
to literally kill themselves trying to obtain this body type, and we should stop doing that. Now we're in a situation now where several decades later, and they're telling us that, oh, but if you're 300 and 400 pounds, you're completely healthy. And we're going to put that on every single billboard and magazine and television cast we possibly can. So it's like, well, wait a second. Whatever happened to we were promoting unhealthy body types? Because, yeah, sure, 100-pound model may not be, a woman can be 100 pounds and not be completely unhealthy. Yes, it is possible. But you can't sit there and then say that, the 300, 400-pound models, they're also completely healthy. It's like, I don't think that's what you told us that you were promoting unhealthy body types. Now you're actually promoting unhealthy body types while telling us we can't have the other thing anymore. It's like they're just walking hypocrites.
Well, and I just was searching the meme to kind of bring this kind of full circle. We hear all the time, especially when the Barbie movie was coming out, about like how Barbie is a symbol of this and that, an unobtainable figure of beauty. And then
Mm-hmm.
what is He-Man? What is Hercules? What are the
Yeah.
Spartans? What is just about every male hero out there? I mean, look at Batman. Look at Superman. Look at Tim Drake. He's like the most Damien. Damien's the most ripped 7-year-old on the planet.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, because it's like when men see these characters, their immediate reaction is, "Oh my God, you're promoting
I
an
gotta go to the
unhealthy body
gym.
type, right?"
You know?
Exactly, right. It's like, "Oh yeah, I want to be that guy," and they tried to quite literally try to be that guy. They'll go to the gym and then they'll get in like great shape. They don't look at it from the perspective of, "Oh, you need to stop putting those six pack abs in my face because your guys are making me feel bad about myself." Like that's not how men think when it comes to the portrayal of masculine men in media.
Right. I mean, just like every hero, even from like again, like Hercules. You see the Disney example here, but this has been ancient Greece. Gilgamesh, the first parable, described a man of peak physicality. He was a giant, for goodness sake. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
No. Barbie. Yeah, Barbie's the problem. We can't have that out there. We can't have Stellar Blade with a beautiful character in it because somebody somewhere is going to be self-conscious about it. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
And we don't want people to feel bad about themselves, so we're gonna tear it down for everyone involved.
Well, and Leslie, I used to think it was gay men that hated women the most, but you know what? I've really
Well,
learned since starting to work at Bounding into Comics, it really is the uggos that hate the pretty ones the most. It
I
really
mean,
is.
it's a combination of the two because the Uggos are the best friends of the gay men, so it's like they tag team on beautiful women.
That's
So
true. And not yeah, right?
it's like
Speaking
a
of tag
handicap
teams,
match.
though, yeah, and the handicap match. How about that? Lines up pretty well with this next thing that happened.
Uh yes, Godzilla versus Kong, the number one movie so far in 2024, which really isn't saying too much positively because I don't know if you've caught this over some of my few reviews that I've done over the last month or so. It hasn't exactly been a great year so far for movies. Like, there's been a couple of movies I can point to and say, okay, that was pretty good. But that's pretty much it. Like, nothing has been like there hasn't been an Oppenheimer for this year yet. Now I'll say yet because it's only 3 months in, but the 3 months in and it hasn't been very good. And there's not a whole lot of films coming out down the line that's making people excited. But this is a film, Godzilla versus Kong, that came out. On one hand, it's a bad thing that that was Godzilla -1 came out a few months ago, because now people are looking at what a Japanese studio can do with Godzilla for only $12 million versus
with lunch money.
with lunch money compared to what Hollywood did. Because I think this budget was about 190, about $200 million.
Let's
For
find out.
Is it listed on numbers here?
Let's see. Running time, production. Nope, not yet.
I can pop it up just real quick here, just so we can check it out. 1 second.
I'm searching for it. Doesn't look like it.
Okay, they're saying the budget here is 135 on Wiki, but I could have swore it was way higher than that, like a couple of days ago. So that might be a recent edit. So I don't know about that one. I highly doubt that they made this movie for less than $200 million, or if it was barely less than $200 million. But that's what they're claiming here.
Well, they put so much. It's all CGI. Yeah. I don't know how it could be cheaper.
Exactly. It's a giant CGI cluster. That's pretty much what this.
Do they even use motion? They got Andy Serkis running around in a Kong motion tracking suit. Did they do any of that, or is that all just Unreal Engine?
It might be all Unreal Engine, because, like, here's the thing: Kong in the movie doesn't like actually speak. So I mean, you wouldn't need like a guy in a suit to. It's not like with Planet of the Apes, where like the apes actually talk and communicate with each other. So you would have to have
the
people in the motion capture mannerisms, right?
But so he does the sign language even with the robot hand.
I'm pretty sure you can do that.
How did the robot hand learn sign language? By the way, I can understand fist and high five, but like, how did it do sign language? That's made out of like tractors.
So I mean, I can explain the robot hand, but that would kind of go into spoilers. I don't know if you want to do that portion.
Do you guys care? I mean, I don't think anybody cares about spoilers about this after Godzilla -1 came out. You know,
like,
yeah. Let's give a warning to people. I'll put up a banner here, and we'll give a warning. And
this is only going to take a couple of minutes. Not that much happens in this film, trust me.
Right. If you're watching in the replay, too bad. I'll try to come back and let you know. I'll try to remember to come back.
Henry, come back in like 3 minutes, and then you'll be fine.
Okay.
But so yeah, in the context of this movie here, it is a direct sequel to the last Godzilla versus Kong movie. Kong is in what I think it's called like the other world or an underworld, one of those two. It's in the earth inside of the earth, as they call it. And he's looking for people who like look like him. He's looking for other giant apes, and he happens to find them. But according to the story lore here, is that these apes tried to go to war with Godzilla a long time ago, and they were defeated, and then they were essentially exiled to another land, which now the more that I think about it, actually kind of realigns with the Bible. But that's a whole other conversation. I'll talk about that another day. So they're in this place called kind of the Abyss, and Kong finds these individuals, which he ends up running into, I guess, King Scar, who is the giant orangutan, who's the leader of this whole situation. And Scar has essentially a dinosaur that has Sub-Zero powers. I don't know what kaiju the name of it is exactly, but
Shimo, and it's Shimo. A girl.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense with context I'm saying here. So she blows, I guess, Sub-Zero powers at Kong's
hand. Gosh.
Well, I said blows Sub-Zero powers, right?
Yeah, but you really waited there.
So I think he had that little axe thing that was in his hand, and then obviously like froze while it was in his hand. So as a result of that, he had like severe frostbite in his hand, so he couldn't really like mobilize it very well. And then it just so happens that the human team just so happened to be already working on a robo hand for Godzilla for completely unrelated means. It was like, well, hey, why don't we go back up to Earth and get him this giant claw thing that he can use to punch a big monkey in the face. It was like, wow, perfect. And that's literally the context of the Power Glove.
Wow. So all this just to keep Godzilla from showing up in the first 10 minutes. That's really all that was meant to do.
I'm gonna tell you
Amazing.
this right now. This really is not a Godzilla movie. Godzilla is barely in the film like at all. I think somebody did a tally, and Godzilla might be in this film for like all of like 18 minutes, and this is a 2 hour movie. So if you're going into this expecting to see a lot of Godzilla, this is not a Godzilla film. This is much more of a Kong movie than a Godzilla movie, because I guess the thought process is that, well, Kong is still a much bigger star in the United States than Godzilla is, so we're gonna front load Kong, and then
Who thinks
Godzilla.
that?
Boomers, people who are like 40, 50 years old, still think that Kong is like the number one guy here in the United States.
What? What? He vanished out of pop culture until like what Mighty Joe Young showed up. And then people were like, "Oh yeah, we should make another Kong movie." And then Jack Black got sucked into it. Right? Wasn't that how it went? Mighty Joe Young came out, and
Well,
then they made that Kong movie. Isn't that how it
well,
went?
to be fair, I think what also led to a lot of people looking at that is that the Kong movie that came out in 2017, if you guys remember, that was the one with like Brie Larson and Samuel L. Jackson. I think that movie ended up doing a little bit better than the two Godzilla movies like in between them. So based off of that, it wasn't like by much. It was probably by like 50 to like $100 million. But based on that, there's like, oh, okay, Kong's bigger in the U.S. than than Godzilla. Even though, I mean, the human characters, the stars that they had in that Kong movie were way bigger than anything that they had in Godzilla, because the 2014 Godzilla movie had what Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen, like before their MCU fame got started there, and this one essentially had Tom Hiddleston, Samuel L. Jackson, John Goodman, Brie Larson, and a few other people who were attached to that, John C. Riley. So I don't know, maybe yeah, it was only literally like he's only literally in the film about 18 minutes. So he's introduced kind of early on, and Godzilla's just kind of like going wild. You don't really know what he's doing or why he's doing it. We later find out that someone is sending a distress signal from Other Earth, and he's going around eating up nuclear energy because he's trying to charge up for this new enemy that he has to face, even though we don't know who this enemy is, because the enemy himself doesn't show up until an hour into the movie.
You're kidding.
Not kidding at
They
all.
wait that long to show you Scar.
Yes, he does not appear. He doesn't have his first scene in the film until an hour in to a 2 hour movie.
They have no idea what this kaiju stuff is. They're
No.
Pacific Rimming it. They're Pacific Rimming it.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to make you care about everything but the giant monsters.
And last little bit of spoiler here, because you just mentioned that they have no idea what they're doing with the kaiju. Mothra just returns for 4 reasons. So
But
she's in the movie
Mothra
too.
does that. Oh, like full grown Mothra?
Yeah.
That's okay. Well, that's not how Mothra works, but okay. All right, whatever.
Yeah, because they use the little deaf Native American indigenous girl who, by the way, there's another just annoying thing about this film. Most of the film is nonverbal, because everyone's either communicating through sign language or you're watching Kong, who does not speak in the movie. So there isn't that many lines of dialogue. This feels like you could have like written this in like 20 pages of complete dialogue for this film, even though it's a 2 hour movie. So
As Crisis King Ragnar Targaryen points out, Rhaegar, excuse me, points out here. I'm sorry, guys. I hear Scar. The first thing I think of is Jeremy Irons and the Lion King, and that's just it. When you just have like animal characters, don't go naming them after another animal character, like Optimra or Optimo, or just Bimbo or Bobo or Bilbo or whatever. Again, like just don't evoke the name of a character that already has that name kind of their thing branded, if you will.
And another thing about him in this film is like when you get an hour into the movie and him and Kong finally go face to face, it's really disappointing, like how big, I guess how small he is compared to Kong, because you would think that in the context of the film, like he would be so much more massive than Kong. And it's like, okay, he needs Godzilla to help him out here. Like they have to team up to take out this thing, and Godzilla's going around the entire world eating up nuclear electricity, nuclear energy. So you think that, okay, this villain is going to be like so massive that their combined power is going to be the only thing that defeats him. And then he shows up and like he's slightly shorter than Kong. He's not really that menacing. in the grand scheme of things. Like remember like the first teaser trailer they released for this movie where he's like sitting on like the pile of bones, and you think that, oh,
Yep.
this is gonna be a big bad villain that
Yep.
these two are gonna have to come together to fight. And then when you actually see him, it's just kind of like, oh wow, that's it. Like
Yep.
that's the guy.
That is it.
It's like, is there like another guy somewhere around here that didn't see him? Or is it
Nope.
just him?
Just that
Nope.
one. Yep. And
Oh,
he's the big stinky.
yeah. So I'll go ahead and answer this question here. So the reason why Godzilla is pink throughout the course of this film here is because as he's in the course of consuming nuclear energy, he ends up going to fight. It's one of the kaiju's who, I don't know, you might know this. I don't know, obviously, the names off the top of my head. He looks like kind of Seadramon. You know who Seadramon is, right?
So
But
Sea
apparently he has
Dragon?
like, yeah, with like a lot of like electricity and whatnot. Do you happen to know who I'm referencing there?
Sea Dragon. Uh Manda? Must be Manda. Maybe? I don't know. I
Yeah.
didn't see the movie, guys. Sorry. I just
Oh,
saw
sorry,
clips of it.
Tiamat. Tiamat. That's the name of
Tiamat.
the.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the name of it. Yeah. So he goes to his lair and kills him in order to essentially soak and absorb a bunch of nuclear power, and then once he's fully absorbed, he just turns
Jeez.
pink. So that's the context of why Godzilla is pink for the
Now
majority
was
of this movie.
Tiamat pink?
Yeah, kind of,
Okay, so that's
sort
where it
of.
came from. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. I'm sorry. I'm just filling up my jug here, and it just looks awkward, so I shut my camera off. But it's just tea. I just look weird pouring a drink on camera. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want screenshots of me pouring drinks, you know. But right here we do have a history of pink Godzilla. There's been a history of this. This is typically it's a Godzilla that's overcharged. That's
Hmm.
what they're going for, is like kind of like how the hottest flame in the known universe is blue, right? Green,
Yeah.
white. Excuse me, white is the hottest. Sorry, I'm
One of
high.
those colors. One of those
Yeah,
colors.
all of them at once, in fact. But the is white, but like blue and green follow it, and that's the theory behind this: is that the concentration of nuclear energy within Godzilla determines the color of his blast. Like as we saw in Godzilla Meltdown, it was pure white, the blast that was coming out of him at that point because he was at Meltdown, fighting Destroya. So,
Yeah.
yep. But no, like you pointed out in the in the review, I was very disheartened to learn that Godzilla is not like front and center in this movie. Um,
Yeah, like I said, do not go to this film if you're expecting a whole lot of Godzilla. You're not getting a whole lot of Godzilla in this movie. Outside of that, I mean, it's very, very slow in like the first hour. Like I say, you don't even get the villain up until like the hour point in the film. And then if you really just want to see a bunch of monsters like beat each other up like on screen, that's what you're going for. Here's my advice: if you're gonna go watch this movie, just watch the last 20 minutes, because the last 20 minutes is pretty much all you're really gonna get out of this film as far as like, CGI monster mashup. Like at one point, I think they just like show up in Brazil like for no reason, and then like the
sounds
final
about
battle
right.
happens in Brazil essentially. So
Yeah. Well, and again, I mean, this is what you're looking at, right? Is like an overcharged Godzilla, so they're trying to show you something different. Now, Jacob, I wonder, in my infinite wonderings, did they go ahead and cut Godzilla down in this so they didn't have like so much footage compared to -1? Like they went into like this crisis phase when they got some test footage of what the Japanese were screening as related to this, and so they just cut down Godzilla because they couldn't make him look that good, so they focused on the monkeys.
I can't imagine there's that much more Godzilla footage from this movie that kind of got unused. So I don't know. It's possible that they looked at what Godzilla -1 did, and they were like, "Oh no, if we come out with this, we're going to be a laughing stock to the entire nation." So it's like, yeah, let's just focus more on Kong and a little bit less on Godzilla, so that way people can't point out the flaws in our Godzilla character. So
Yeah, it's really what it is because we don't really have any characterization of Godzilla here yet. Like we have that he's like this force of nature, if you will, to a degree. They kind of justify. Oh, by the way, this is by the way, it's why the spoilers are there. Shimu is the one who froze Ghidorah in the north. That is the factoid about that one, is that that was the one that did. So Godzilla apparently, remember how they said that they had a fight and Ghidorah was frozen in the ice after the fight with Godzilla? Well, apparently that's not how it went. Shimu was the superior predator that got the drop on Ghidorah, who gave Godzilla a run for his money, if you remember. So that's I hate this. They're even like diversity, intersectional feminizing the fucking kaiju. It's so annoying. Like she's in chains, right? She moves a female. She's in chains. Let's see if I can dig up the GIF again. She's in chains, and it's just like, can you hit me over the head with the symbolism any harder, please? What am I? This one right here. I got the screen too big. I'll make it smaller so you can see what I'm talking about. Look at this. She's in She's in chains. So they're
Hmm.
obviously showing you they're like, oh yeah, she's a prisoner of the apes, right? Is that
Yep.
how it is? Yeah, she's
Yeah.
their weapon, right?
Yeah. Scar controls her with like a magic stick that makes her attack people.
Right, which is like a harmonic weapon of some
Yeah.
sort. It has a harmonic resonance to it. See, I've seen clips, hat cams from Russia, but nothing straight through. But this is what annoys me. It's like it's a giant monster that breathes winter. Okay, it doesn't need a Lifetime movie original backstory. It's a giant monster that breathes winter.
Yeah. It's literally a Sub-Zero dinosaur. That's all you need.
Well, how cool is that? Like now they're like, no. We need to make sure that she's a prisoner of a hyper masculine society and that
Hmm.
she's abused. Yeah, yeah. We need to make sure that that's known about her. Oh, and she's more powerful than Ghidorah. Yeah, yeah. So when
Yeah,
Godzilla shows
and
up,
here's the problem. Since the villain doesn't actually show up until an hour into the film, most people will be asleep to even realize that you're trying to make some kind of allegory about how women are treated in a male-dominated society. It's like
yeah,
they're not even going to be paying attention
yeah.
while you're trying to shove this down their throat.
And I just hate this so much because it's like, okay, remember what they didn't do with the female Muto? They did not. They made her bigger and more aggressive because in the animal kingdom, they talked about that in the movie. That's why the smaller one is the male one and he's less aggressive, is because that's how they work in the animal kingdom. Note that they didn't make that like pro-feminist Muto. They didn't make this woman. I ain't need no male, you know, Muto. And now Shimu is here being chained up, and you know, is this an allegory for Gina Carano? That she's being chained up to be used by MAGA as a weapon against, the righteous SJWs. Maybe is Shimu Gina Carano. I'm starting it here. Shimu is
I was
Gina
about to
Gina
say, but then
Carano.
who's the big red monkey that controls
You know who the big red monkey is who controls.
her? I'm sure they give him the same hairstyle.
Yeah, right. Just give it time. I don't think it's
Yeah.
over for Scar yet. I don't think it's over for Scar. Not from the clips I've seen. But you do know who it's over for. Yeah, it's over for this dork that accused Warner Brothers of stealing his fan fiction. Okay? Like I wrote fan fiction since I was 14 years old. It's been deleted. Don't bother. Okay, you can bother all you like, but it's been deleted. I know better. Before I got involved with being public, I deleted my stuff because I didn't want my 14-year-old ideas of the world leaking out into my adult life, you know?
Yeah.
So
And people asking you to defend this. It's like I was 11 when I wrote this. That's my defense.
I didn't even know what war was. It was just a cool thing the Gundams did. What do
It's
you
like,
want from me?
I was watching Global Guts when I was 11. Like I didn't know about the world.
Right. I wrote a Power Rangers fan fiction where Tori became the third Red Ranger.
I thought Iraq was something you put your spices in.
Yeah, right. Right. But this is what's happened is that the long embattled lawsuit over Chris Wozniak's Batman script fanfic is now over, and they have ruled against Warner Brothers, Discovery, and DC over the Batman. So, yeah, we're against Chris. Excuse me, against Chris. I got that. Yeah. So he did not win it. I'm sorry, I misspoke. He did not win it. This is
So
Batman smiling about that.
He lost to the power of the Warner lawyers, then, right?
Well, moreover, he lost to the power of reality. At the end of the day, your fan fiction is just that. It doesn't matter how good it is. It doesn't matter if somebody steals it. You are, in fact, abusing an actual copyright. Like you are not allowed to go make any legal claim to anything you do with this smirky bastard.
Yeah, it's like you can't copyright the story because you don't own the rights to any of the characters that are in said story. Now you can do like your own like version of Batman where you can like make up an old fictional city that is vaguely similar to a Gotham and have your own character that's vaguely similar to Batman, and they can't sue you as long as you don't use any of their trademark names. They can't. There's nothing they can do about it. You can
Right.
say it's a parody, and then they're shit out of luck. So you just need to learn how to work the game, sir.
Well, again, like Chris felt that his fan fiction about the Batman thwarting the Riddler and it going in this particular order, I guess, decided
Mm-hmm.
that this was how his fan fiction lined up. And how it got into beyond like, explaining this to a lawyer, I'll never know. But there's no look, if you go out and you make Sony Handycam backyard Avengers 5 and it
Mm-hmm.
goes mega viral on YouTube, not only will it get copyright struck, but you will also, right, not be able to monetize any of that ever, ever. The guys with Team Four Star had to learn this. They came out and they were putting out all these episodes, and Toei kept knocking them down. Toei kept knocking them down left and right. Didn't matter what disclaimers they put into it. Didn't matter how they changed the music. Didn't matter how edited they made everything. They even resorted to making their own models to control the mouths. But no, it wasn't enough. Finally, they had to go and speak with them and explain, like, through and through, we're not trying to make any money off of this. And what resulted from that was a bunch of in jokes that they had made, like Piccolo destroying the moon, becoming the merch that they put out. Right? They
Mm-hmm.
had to completely divorce themselves of the Dragon Ball Z imagery. Like, I guess like 90% of it, right? They have a Yoshi dressed up like Piccolo, and I don't know how Nintendo feels about that, but they had to get away from this, and again, like they even became employees of Shueisha at the end of the day, doing voiceovers now. But the situation with that is it's an exemplary tale for what Chris Wozniak should have realized, is that these Batman is owned by somebody else, you dork. I don't
You
I don't know how
you
to get any
don't
more
own the
clear
rights
about
to
it.
Batman.
Right. Again, like maybe another 40 years when he like has to fall into public domain, your little fan fiction could have become something popular on YouTube. And I say little fan fiction, right? Because I know what I created. And it's someone else's IP that I got to have fun with under fair use law where I'm not making any money on it. Okay? That's it. It has to stop there. Otherwise, you end up looking like a colossal dick like this guy and making Warner Brothers, of all people, look good. Don't ever do that. Don't ever make Warner Brothers look good.
Why would you do such things?
Well, you have Disney LFL said that the folks who wrote fanfics don't have the rights to those fics, and LFL could borrow the ideas and fanfics and theories. Absolutely. That is how this works. You don't, no matter what you do with someone else's property, you don't own it. Okay, so if you give them free ideas, you've given them free ideas. It's why I tell people, if you want to make a Star Wars anything, you want to make a Star Wars fan movie, you want to get real serious about it, don't. Come
Yeah.
up with Rebel Moon. Okay? That way you can make money. Jacob and I were talking about this as a new Sonic game, new Sonic mod out called Sonic Delta that does everything a lot better than the original presentation of that did. There's also Freedom Planet, which was done by a guy who started out to create a superior Sonic game, but then said, "Why am I doing this for free?" And Freedom Planet has become one of the most downloaded 2D games on Google Play and Steam. So I highly recommend you check it out because it's an example of this. Like, if you like something so much, make your own version of it. That way you can make money. That's how capitalism works. The definition of it is creative destruction. Make a better Batman. Don't try to take credit for it. It's not that hard. It's just a dude in a bat costume beating the pants off of criminals. I mean, look, Eric July created, excuse me, Chuck Dixon created Horseman, okay? And that's Batman, but with a chess knight for theming, okay?
What if I wanted to create a show called Eagle Man, and my main character's name was Bruce Dane? Is that close enough so that I can avoid any kind of Warner lawsuits?
Absolutely. That's fine. I think that was what wasn't that Birdman was
Yeah,
the movie that he was
Birdman.
in? And there was
Hmm.
Birdman from the 70s cartoon. Hanna-Barbera let it happen. They
Yep.
had the Birdman law show going on right at the same time, I think, and it let it happen. It's all again, it's all contrived stuff, but this is fan fiction, okay? This is fan fiction. Make your own stuff, dude. Just make your own stuff. It's
Hmm.
really look. There's Eric July went out and proved how easy it is. He made a little mini movie about Yaira.
That
That
that like now I'm interested because it's like, okay, how close to a Batman story can I tell without being sued by Warner Brothers? Like,
look, you take a look at Marvel and look at how close they get, right? With
hmm,
with their guys, okay? There's like Nighthawk, Night something like that. He's
hmm,
basically Batman. You got Blade, who's just vampire Batman. You've got the Punisher, who's just murder Batman. And again, like you can come right up against it. Marvel also has Gladiator, who's just Superman with a mohawk. They just spun the shield upside down. That was his symbol. They just
yep.
spun the shield
I
upside
mean, you
down
got
on him.
Sentry, who's basically just like Superman with severe mental health issues.
Shazam. It's just Shazam with mental illness. It
Yes,
really is. It's Shazam with mental illness. And now in a wheelchair, by the way.
and now
Because
black and female.
it's true. It's the trope. It's the meme. Sometimes I
Hmm.
wonder, they went so woke they went back to base, making a meme.
The only step they can go forward now is to reveal that she was actually trans the entire time.
Give it, give it time. It's coming. Yeah, Hyperion. I always forget his name, but Hyperion is Superman. His story is just basically Superman's, and all he has a nuclear power plant symbol above his penis, and that's
Hmm.
his symbol. Like
Literally going to explode.
yeah, and that you have Omni Man. Omni Man is just Superman with extra murder on top. And that again, like this is what you're dealing with is your superheroes, especially. You go into Japan, it gets even more like this. There's a thing called derivative. If something works, it tends to take over a market. Kind of like how Henry Ford and the internal combustion engine were not new, but, right, because the Mercedes guys had done the internal combustion engine already. But the assembly line that Ford put into place to mass produce these vehicles revolutionized it. It even took over how we fought in World War II, right? And that's what we're talking about is you can take an idea and improve upon it and make something different. I tell new creators coming into comics all the time. If you don't know, I made the Colossals. My first comic, number two, is coming out soon enough.
Physical
And
copy.
yeah, it's real. This is the black and white one because I'm a manga guy, and there is a colored version. It's really cool. Anyway, I tell new guys coming into this all the time. You're not reinventing the wheel. Don't do that. Don't think about it like that. What you are doing is you're putting spinner rims on the wheel. You're making it your wheel. The only thing I can tell you, there's just nothing new, but there is something you can create that's totally you, and you are unique. And that's what I tell these new guys. But I wish somebody had sat down and told this to Anthony Mackie before he went and opened his big mouth.
Wah,
This
wah.
talk about just killing the stock price of your boss, right? Like, you got Peltz that's just breathing down Iger's neck right now, and you got the guy that's supposed to headline the next two Avengers movies, right? Coming out and saying, "We're out of ideas, fam. We got nothing."
Uh,
Wow.
so you're currently working on a movie that's been pushed back a full year because apparently it's bombed out two official test screenings and they're both awful. So you're coming off of very, very low expectations for your new up and coming film, and then somehow you're making the situation significantly worse by opening your mouth and making people even less interested in your Black Captain America. Like, here's the other thing, just real quick before we get into the story. It's like, does anyone actually even care about Black Captain America anymore? Like, we introduced this character that nobody liked like 10 years ago, and it kind of ran its course then, and now we're trying to resurrect it for this movie so that we can have a Black Cap. But it's like, we're even done for people caring about this in the comic book and that whole short-lived outrage that was, what was that, like 2012?
Mhm. Yeah.
That was a while ago,
Way long ago.
and people stopped caring then.
Yeah. Like Obama was in office when they did this. Yeah. Yeah. It's a really long time ago. Why can't
Obama
he?
was quite literally a character in the Marvel universe, so don't forget that too.
Thanks. And so is Trump. That's the worst part. This shit, Marvel, the House of Bad Ideas, really.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they ought to rebrand as. But Timothy Olsen says, why can't he just be Falcon? Well, the reason is that they can't be satisfied with a white man calling himself Captain America because they're guilty. In their hearts, they believe that that's wrong because they believe that they have an ill-gotten privilege in this world simply because they burn when the sun's too intense on them. So they turn bright red like me. So, and this is why they have to go and they have to get on their knees. They have to beg Anthony Mackie to play Captain America that he's not comfortable playing. He's admitted this over and over again. He's not sure how to characterize this guy. He doesn't know real, he's out. He talks about Sam's journey through this, and he talks about it like he's describing how to get through a dungeon in like a video game, in like one of those JRPGs. He's like, Sam's discovering it as he goes along. There are twists and turns for this whole mission that he's on, but Sam really treats it like a mission. He's out to change the world, but it has to be within the bounds that Steve established, even though we're kind of pushing outside of who that's supposed to appeal to. I've heard Mackie go on and on like this. It's not his exact wording, but this is what he talks about, is that he's on a choose your own adventure of who the hell Sam Wilson's supposed to be now. And when you look at the comics, Sam's on the same journey. They never really cemented him. They went so far as, like, I think it was 2 years ago, maybe a little longer, as having Steve come back and say, there's two Captain Americas now. Remember that? They were standing in knee-high water, and Sam was trying to hand him the shield back. He says, "No, thanks, I got my own. There's two Captain Americas now." And it's like, no.
Remember
that's how Civil War starts.
but no, literally, remember when I believe it was right around the time Civil War, the movie came out, and like Marvel, someone had given the Iggy to like Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios. It's like, we have a new Captain America movie coming out, and you've made him a Nazi in the comics. Fix this now.
Like, I can't believe that they did that. Like, of all the galaxy brain, and then have Thor support him. That was the other thing that blew my mind, was like, unworthy Thor was like, I've made a huge craptastic streak of my reputation so far. I might as well be a freaking Nazi now.
Yeah. Thor was just like, I don't really like the Jews either, for being honest with you. It's like,
right. It's just like, what? He's lost an arm and he's like, screw it. I might as well just be go for it.
Just be a
that's what they did. They like gutsed from berserked him for a while there. That was the typifying of dumb, And then come to find out, all Fury did to him. That was the other thing that annoyed me about that whole thing. All Fury did to him through his fishbowl helmet was whisper him, "You're not worthy." And Thor was like, "I don't know." And that was it. That's it.
Yep.
That's all Fury did to him. That it was 2 years of wondering what Nick Fury had said to Thor to make him drop his hammer that he couldn't pick it back up again.
No, hold on a second. Time out here. Is this before or after he got BTFO'd by Emma Frost?
This is after. This is when Jane had the hammer.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Thunder Thighs, as I called her. And it's not Thor. And I didn't like whore. I didn't like calling her that. That's not right. So I just called her Thunder Thighs. I felt that was a bit more graceful.
Maybe if Natalie Portman got a Brazilian butt lift, the movie would have made more money.
No, because those always just look like a melted glob of bubble gum stuck onto their backside.
Especially with someone on her frame.
Yeah, exactly. She'd just be two prize-winning pumpkins walking down the street. That's all you'd see of her. But again, like, that's more creative than what Anthony Mackie thinks the MCU is capable of at this point. So if you don't know this story, right, we've agonized enough over it. So what the takeaway of this is Mackie, during an interview, admitted that the MCU cannot build any greater than what Stan Lee and the guys at Marvel had already set forth in the comics. But why this smacks so wrong is that, why is that a problem? When you look back at, like, Helen of Troy, Hercules, the guy Achilles with the heel, and Hades, and all these people with Ez as their last name, this as their last part of their name. All these stories have been around for centuries, and yet we're still telling them. We're still putting twists on the story of Hercules, where maybe he didn't murder Megara. Maybe he didn't. And that it was still putting twists on. The Rock was Hercules for a little while there. This
Yeah.
whole thing about having a preset like universe that you can't outdo. Great. Want to know what that means? It means you pull stuff from that. You've been doing that. What's the problem? This really sounds like Mackie's been sitting down at the What's Going On meetings about Avengers 5, and they are completely stunted. That's really what I took away from this.
And that's kind of the angle I was looking at it too. It's like a slight defense of Mackie would be that he's actually talking to the creative minds behind Avengers 5, which, keep in mind, does not have a team for an Avengers, does not have a title, and does not have a villain at this current time, and it's supposed to be filming next year. So he's probably listening to the ideas that they're pitching around for this Avengers film, and it's like, yeah, they're completely run out of ideas. And he technically would not be wrong if that's the way that he was trying to angle his argument here.
I hope that there is a Nick Fury that is jive talking, and just Samuel L. Jackson goes back to playing, oh no, I just forgot his name. Pulp Fiction? Yeah.
His character in Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, his character. Do you remember his name? It had like an E at the end of it, right?
I completely blanked.
Anyway, back to playing Jesse.
So
Yeah,
somebody in the chat's gonna correct this.
Yeah, something like that. The character he played, he was like, "Is Marcellus Wallace a B word? English mother friender, But
I like how you did the TNT cut for
yeah, mother fruiter. But yeah, I hope that there's a jive talking Nick Fury in here. That Samuel L. Jackson's like, whatever, I'm done. I'm not gonna bother anymore. I'm just gonna do the Steven Seagal thing, and I'm gonna do the whole movie in this office chair right here. And that's it, okay? I cannot be effed, okay? But you've got something here. What's this?
Jules is the name of the character from the Pulp Fiction movie.
Jules, okay, thanks. I knew it started with a J.
Every time I think of Anthony Mackie, I think of this hilarious video from him at a Falcons game.
Yeah.
This Falcons, it was Falcons and Saints game here in Atlanta, and this guy just completely trolls the adrenaline crap out of Anthony Mackie. You can tell that Anthony is like legit upset during this whole thing, but it's hilarious nonetheless.
But it's about the football.
Yep.
Look, one thing about it, when you're in Atlanta, I don't care if you're a celebrity, we're on the Avengers, you ain't welcome. Rise up, baby. Right, Anthony Mackie, show your face if you're gonna rep the Saints in Atlanta. We don't want you. Rise up, baby. Let's go. Rise up.
You're disappointing your father. He raised you to be better than this.
Oh.
Be a better man.
Hey.
Be the best man that you can be.
Rise up, baby.
Be a better man.
Rise up.
You're disrespecting your father.
Rise up.
Your father's sad.
You disrespecting Atlanta.
In his grave.
When you're in the A. You represent the A.
Sir, I'm sorry that your sperm turned out to be
He's sorry he's an H fan. Rise up, baby. We don't want you. You ain't welcome. Rise up.
I absolutely love that, because you can tell that he's trying to get like serious with the fan, and the fan's just holding on to the bit the whole time. It's just like trolling him. And by the way, I think the Saints lost that game too, which makes it a little bit funnier as well. So
I think that's why he was teasing him. It looked like after the game that he was teasing him, and that's why he was so mad about it. He's just like, whatever, man. Your sperm, your dad's sperm is a fan of this other team.
He just goes, rise up, baby, rise up.
Right. Well, here's the thing, is as I said earlier, when I was talking about Mackie not knowing what to do with this character, apparently Disney doesn't either. He said in the interview here inside of the article, he says, when we introduced the Falcon and the growth of the Falcon to Captain America, all that had to coincide with what Stan had already gave us. So it's an interesting juggle to be part of that world. And this was more like, let's just have fun and figure it out as we go. What did James Gunn tell us? Oh yeah, they just keep doing things. They just film stuff, then add it to the script. They film things, take it out of the script. They add and replace things. They film things months before and then add it in later on, or just completely take out whole sections of the movie like it's a Lego set. So there you go. They don't know what to do with Cap. Let's just make it up and have fun as we go along. Why?
they like, okay, Chris Evans is gone now, but we want to continue to Captain America. So like I said, the same thing that Marvel has done with everything over the last 10-15 years. Let's just turn everything into a mantle and we'll just give it to somebody else, not realizing that no, these characters are not mantles, they are characters. And when you remove the actual character, when you remove Steve Rogers from Captain America, you can't just put some secondary dude in there as the new Captain America and everyone's gonna care. Like, that's not how this works. This isn't pro wrestling where you can like hand the mask to like somebody, he'll be like Van Veno 5 or something like that. That's not how it works in comic books and in movies. So if you wanted him to be his own standout character, I don't know, maybe focus more on Falcon as a character and put him over so you can actually tell better stories with him and get people to actually care about him. But that's harder work because then you actually have to like placate to what the audience actually wants, and these people don't want to do that. So it's like, you know what, we'll just take the mantle of Captain America and give it to a black guy because that's the way that we think.
And again, this started with the comics. This wasn't Disney's decision. It started with the comics, and again, like a Miles Morales situation occurred where they just decided we are going to run into copyright complications with Captain America here in the next 30 years. We need to start introducing a character that can take up that icon while we take out all the things that are copyright necessary, so that way we can continue on with the title and keep making money with what people are familiar with, because these aren't characters anymore. They're lifestyle brands. That's how Marvel Comics and DC Comics behave about IDW, all of them behave about this now. These are lifestyle brands. These are not entertainment venues anymore. And that's, yeah, they think being superhero is like being a politician. Worse, I think, Crisis Kang. I really think that they think being a superhero is something you can just put on. You can be a superhero today. We hear this all the time about from the people writing about Star Wars now, is that the dark side deserves its time to explain why it's dark side. People on the dark side have feelings too, And it's like, no, that's not. No, it's literally explained by George Lucas that it's Satan versus God. The Force is meant to evoke what the power of Christ is. That's what the Force is meant to evoke.
But we're like Satanists now. We want to tell a story from Satan's perspective that maybe he wasn't the bad guy after all. So,
right. And again, like, this is the thinking that they go in the superheroes, is that everybody has a dark side. Everybody's got this thing that's underpinning them. And if you recall, I don't know if you read any of this, but the whole reason why Sam is Captain America in the comics is because Steve gets hit with some bullcrap beam that deactivates the aging zygote in his superhero serum. So he's just a big, strong grandpa. He's just a big, strong grandpa, but he's like, oh man, my back hurts, even though I could still pick up a VW beater. But Sam's like, relax, old man, I've got it from here. And so Steve becomes old Bruce Wayne for Falcon, who just basically is Terry McGinnis in this story. It's so annoying how Falcon Captain America is just Terry McGinnis Batman Beyond with a Marvel spin on it and like a dollar store 4th of July paint job. It was Captain Dementia, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's what you're dealing with. And so when Mackie says that there isn't any like creative juice left, it's because these people are not willing to sit back and say, maybe we missed an opportunity with Tony and the Infinity Gauntlet. We had the opportunity to reset this entire thing. We knew these guys were getting old. We knew that they weren't going to be able to do this much longer. We knew that the contracts were expiring. When we signed them, we knew when they were going to expire. But no.
Well, it's also the problem in the way that the MCU is crafted in the first place, because over the course of the last, I know it's been like 15 something years since the MCU has been a thing, but over the course of these years, they've taken all of the biggest storylines in the Marvel universe that they could tell on a big screen. They've kind of blown them all off as one-offs at this point. Like, there's so many angles up to this point that has already been done and over with. I mean, the whole, like I said, Infinity Gauntlet War thing, you just blew that one away. You blew away Ultron, that's over. We destroyed Asgard, that's not a thing anymore, so that's done. We've already gone back to the past several times with Captain America's no angle to talk about there. Wakanda, we did that already. So you're finding out that all of like the really interesting storylines and all the really interesting plots, Civil War being one of them, was just a kind of a throwaway movie. It's that we've already told them all, or we've already burned them away in the MCU. So instead of taking some of these arcs and spreading them over the course of like several films and making it kind of, like I said, its own phase, quote unquote, rather than like, oh, just be a one-off for this movie, then we can go on to the next movie. Now they realize that, look, we've gone through all the angles that fans actually care about, and the only thing we got left is what these new writers are creating, and these new writers are not creating anything anyone wants to see. So now we're in a position it's like, okay, where do we go next? And they don't know.
Well, because they're not telling a story anyone really wants to hear. That's the tacit admission that Mackie is making with this crap. And that's, a lot of people kind of probably won't pick up on that because like, oh yeah, what's he talking about? We've got all this stuff with Marvel, we've got all these secret wars to pull from, all these endless villains they've made up over so many decades of being around, right? But actually what the situation is that they don't want to pay royalties for this, right? They don't want to pay royalties on those stories. They don't want to pay the artist, they don't want to pay the writer, the editor, and anybody else that gets any cut of that. So that's why Mackie is saying this. He's saying this because the eggheads at Marvel can't figure out how to scalp any more bullcrap off the top of the Wikipedia pages they're getting their ideas from. That's what's happening here. We heard this at Star Wars Celebration last year, where they were so excited about hiring these people that had no idea what the heck Star Wars was, that they weren't fans, that they'd never seen the movies. They were so excited because these people were going to bring in elements that had nothing to do with the franchise previously, and thus free up the content from the legal rigors of having to pay people their due royalties for what they created. You wonder why, like, oh, why is this artist putting up a GoFundMe to cover his up? The creator of G.I. Joe, for goodness sakes, has a GoFundMe for his medical bills because these people just abuse the creative end of this. They abuse the artistic end of it.
It's all about the money, pal. Yeah.
And that's what it is right here. Now we have Arvita here talking about a missing era when evil characters are just evil for the sake of being evil. Now, a lot of guys, I know you're not into like children's programming and stuff. Like I make children's media. I create these comics and the manga that I'm creating. It's meant for the 8 to 14 market. So I pay attention to what's going on. I got to tell you, if you're looking for like a good feel-good show that just kind of gets you in and out of an adventure where bad guys are bad for the sake of being bad, Thunderbirds Are Go is just peak feel-good fiction. Everybody survives. It is wonderfully shot between this real miniature set they made to mimic the old show, and then also CGI that's meant to mimic it. So it's not actually puppets, but the CGI characters are made to look like the puppets and move like them a bit. There's no strings, obviously, and the models are obviously CGI, but they're meant to behave like that. You'll even see the rockets wobble a little bit, like it's on strings still, but it's not. It's just wobbling at Mach 10. You know what I mean? But it's very charming, and they're a family still. The brothers have lost their father. He's crashed somewhere out in space. They don't know where to find him. And the Hood, the bad guy in the situation, is trying to destroy the planet before their father finds his way back with the technology that he went to go find to begin with. There might be aliens. There just might be lost old ancient tech because, again, with the original Thunderbird show, they went down and they had to rescue people from a submarine crashed in Atlantis. So there's all sorts of things to enjoy with this. I highly recommend this if you have children. There is a few diversity bits and pieces there, but it's not rammed in. They have KO. She is the officer of security despite being 17 years old, but it is what it is. But she's very spry. She's very quick-witted. She's a fun character to be around. She is not down your throat diversity hire. She earns her spot. So I highly recommend check it out. And yeah. That's the Thunderbirds Are Go. Thunderbirds Are Go.
So, like I said, we definitely need some form of entertainment out there because you're not getting that from the companies at the very top of the pyramid right now. So take what you can get.
No, and yeah. So that after all that brings us to the end of the show. We didn't get to all the topics necessarily, but we touched on the important ones.
I think we covered everything unless there was something else that we forgot to cover.
I just wanted to point out that Rappaport still wants to vote for Trump, and he's very agonizing about it still. And I like well,
Because
I'll
he's
just
made here's the too long didn't read version of the story. He spent the last 10 years making an ass out of himself about Donald Trump every step of the way, and now things have gotten so bad, particularly in his home city of New York. Now he's trying to be like, how can I tell people I want to vote for Trump, but I look like a complete ass and like
still want to
alienate
keep
all
my
my friends in the
street
process.
cred.
Yeah, I don't alienate all my friends and like put myself out of work in the process.
So, Josh, if you're still watching, I saw you in the chat a little earlier. If you're still watching, I love your headline. It's like Hollywood actor. Like, I love how you have to be like, I don't know what this guy, anybody's gonna notice that this guy was in. There's no touchstone for him to like for people to reference this from. So
Put
it's
some
just,
respect. Put some respect on Rappaport's name. He's been on tons of series that were canceled after a few episodes. No?
yeah, right, exactly. It's like the black cat of evening television. But yeah, I love that headline. Hollywood actor, as if like just some random guy, Michael Rappaport, has a problem with Trump. I love how they had to like, by the way, he's a Hollywood actor because we don't know what's important that he's ever been in. I love it.
Be like, wait, Hollywood actor Michael Rappaport?
Right, question mark? In like parentheses, question mark? But yeah, that brings us to the end of the show. Now, Jacob, I noticed you did the Bible Lens yesterday for Easter. Is there a show tonight on your channel?
No show tonight. So we have in fact moved the Bible Lens to Sunday night. There's a lot better traction on Sunday night. People have a little bit more time to consume the content. We did a very good episode last night. So tonight there'll be no episode. However, over the course of the next couple of weeks. So last Saturday we did a big retrowave show that I'm breaking up into segments and putting on the channel. We watched and reviewed a whole bunch of content from 80s and very early 90s Nickelodeon shows. So I brought Cassie, Orange Hat, Eddie Brock, and a few others. We all watched and reviewed some of that stuff. So that'll be coming out over the course of the next few days. And then of course tomorrow night we'll be back with the Barroom podcast. So that's everything I got coming up working on my side.
Yep, and we'll be back on Wednesday here on the channel live for the 01 stream. So feel free to check that out. We'll probably still have commentary on Anothony Mackie. There's probably going to be more of that to fall out. Now that he said something, somebody else is probably going to say something. And we're still monitoring what's going on with Nelson Peltz and if he's going to make his move yet. Apparently, he's leading in the votes to take over Disney. So I don't know if this is going to change anything, but I'll tell you what, you can tune into Bounding into Comics to find out if it does. We'll see you in the next one.
Yo.